All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking about the in-game currency system in Splitgate 2, because quite frankly, we have kind of like two versions of it. We've got the blue coins. That's what I'm going to call them for now. I'm not entirely sure what the specific name is. I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find it, so I apologize. And then we've got Pelium, which is like this round purplish with some blue in there or whatnot that could basically be used to, well, the blue stuff could be used to obtain Pelium in turn to where you can use the blue stuff to unlock certain things in the battle pass, as well as unlocking more Pelium, which unlocks different things in the battle pass, I guess, as well as additional things. So within an in-game currency system, you know, that obviously to me gives hints to a grind of some sort beyond just the regular game, and you could have a progression system. But I can't help but think that there are other things that could come into play. And as the game that Splitgate is, that implements all sorts of different things from all these other first-person shooters in its gameplay, as well as some other things that I continue to discover the more I play the game. I'm at like 42 hours right now into the game in terms of total playtime, according to Steam. And quite frankly, I'm starting to see more and more things. And that's going to be another thing for another video. So I'm not going to spoil it here. So we're just going to have its own topic on that. But as far as this topic is concerned, there are certain things that just kind of scream to me in terms of a grindable system that has its own in-game currency. Now, obviously, the first and most important thing is that it can't really, like, it can complement the battle pass, but it can't interfere with it. And the reason why I say that is obviously because we want this game to continue to be supported financially by the community, so that way the game continues to live on, and so that way we can continue to enjoy this game and everything else that's going to come with it in the future, right? Because it's been said that there's a lot of good things coming with the game, you know, a few hints here and there, some surprises. And when you've got this foundation of this game that is as strong as it is, you know, we need this thing to continue to keep getting momentum, right? We need more and more reasons to play, and we've already been getting so much. And for a beta, even though it's in beta form, even though a lot of us consider this a soft launch, the game, we're basically getting quite a lot with beta. So I'm thinking, if we're getting quite a lot with beta, well, when the game does fully launch after we get out of beta phase, you know, there's going to have to be more things that we're looking forward to, and that is the grind, right? Now, we know we got different mini battle passes, you know, and you know, like one for every month or something like that. But I think also one thing that's important that they need to do is they need to make the battle passes to not ever expire, so that way you can always come back and get them. So let's continue on with the subject here. So some of the things that just scream to me when I'm thinking about, you know, an in-game currency system and how you can use it to make the grind that much better. One of the things that I want to discuss immediately is Call of Duty World War II. Now, before they released all that content in the game for free, like way after the game's life cycle or however long later it was, basically you would purchase these I guess seasonal or themed events or whatnot, and you'd have them in the game permanently. And what you would do is you would have to grind all the things, and upon unlocking one thing after another, you know, things would get more expensive. You'd unlock a lot of really cool cosmetics, but eventually, if you unlocked everything in a particular category, you would then be qualified to unlock the weapon variant. And there were tons of weapon variants. I'm telling you right now, to this day, Call of Duty World War II came out in 2017, and there are still people out there grinding to unlock every single thing in the game. That's how much of a grind the game is. And it's all basically from in-game currency. You don't have to buy a damn thing. In the beginning you did, though, but then after the game's life cycle, or sometime after the game's life cycle, they just said, screw it, here, have it all for free or whatever. And, you know, you got plenty to, you know, you got so many reasons to play. And I think that's one of the reasons why Call of Duty World War II is still played, if I'm not mistaken, pretty much to this day. And there's, beyond just the game itself, people have another reason to grind. They've got, you know, different ways to get that in-game currency to where they can grind the hell out of the game. And plus, they've also got things like contracts for very specific challenges to unlock additional things. all within the game itself. So Call of Duty World War II, if you think about it, especially if you enjoy that game, it just has so much more value because you've got your regular progression system up to level 1000. You've got a shit ton of cosmetics to unlock through the in-game currency system and contracts and challenges and stuff like that. There's always a reason to go back and to play. So with that being said, let's continue with the topic at hand here. Another thing that reaches out to me is literally what I just said, Halo Reach. Everything was in the game, and grinding to Inheritor was definitely an endeavor. It's probably comparable to level 1000 from, previous Call of Duty games. And with every level, or, once you got to a certain place with things, as well as some commendations and challenges to unlock and stuff like that, you were unlocking gear from start to finish. It was like the never-ending grind. There was a lot of cosmetics for your Spartan, as well as a few animations and stuff like that. So that game right there, I remember one of my two best friends that I grew up with in high school, one of them ended up playing Griffball like nonstop and finally reached Inheritor. And I was like, dude, how in the hell are you doing this? So, and he's one of the few that actually reached Inheritor. And the way he did it was he just grinded Griffball. Of course, he joined me a few times here and there and play some multiplayer, but for the most part, he was grinding Griffball. Me back in the day, I was a SWAT guy. I was grinding SWAT. But anyway, but with that being said, you guys get the point here. Among past games, every single game has its own progression system, its own grind, and in some cases, it has its own in-game currency system that aids the grind, right? But the thing is, in this case, this is a free-to-play game, so therefore we need something like the Battle Pass. However, I think we need something that complements the Battle Pass, and they can kind of, I don't know if they should be, kind of related to each other or not related at all. I'm not sure, but obviously in terms of what we're getting already and hinted at in beta is that they're going to be somewhat related or whatnot. But I think there needs to be something to where, I think they're going in the right direction with this, because when I think of Call of Duty World War II, that's kind of what they're doing here. Because in Call of Duty World War II, you would get something. It wasn't a battle pass, but it's comparable to like what a battle pass is. And basically you grind the hell out of that content that you basically got that's in there. So basically what you're doing is you're paying to grind for like really cool content. So, because that's what essentially a battle pass is. But when you have an in-game currency system, or should I say in this case in Splitgate 2 forms of it in those little blue coins or however what the hell they're called, and then you've got what's it called, and then you've got Pelium, and then of course you got the split coins, which are basically the ones that you purchase through real life money, if I'm not mistaken. So if you think about it, there's like a lot of potential for more than this. And I wanted to make a video on it because when you think about these different forms of currency, as well as the fact that you've got your mini battle passes in this case as well, and if you tie a progression system on there with challenges and tiers of things to unlock by, grinding for in-game currency in order to have the ability to unlock things which enable you to unlock other things that are even cooler. There's something to be said about that, especially since you've also got the portals in there, and then obviously you got the cosmetics of the abilities and stuff like that. There's like so many different things you can get. You can get some really cool looking portals, and we're not just talking about colors here, but we're talking about like animations, designs, all that kind of stuff. You just think about it. I'm pretty sure you can come up with some really cool stuff off the top of your head. So with that being said, guys, there's a lot of potential to be had here with this in-game currency system if they take full advantage of it. And I hope they're listening, and I hope that they already have something in mind, because again, they've already taken so much inspiration from other games, but they need to do it the Splitgate way, right? And obviously, one other thing, as I mentioned earlier, the battle passes do not need to expire. It's like once you get it, you have it there for life. I think that's something that they can certainly take a page out of Halo Infinite's book, and I hope they do that. So with that being said, guys, I want to know in the comment section below, what do you guys think they should do? What ideas do you have? Does all this stuff sound good? Do you not care and you only just care about the game? Let me know, because I like to think that most of us do care, because it's something that's talked about quite a bit. And again, you can't ignore historic facts of things like Call of Duty World War II. When you have a reason to grind the game other than just for the love of the game, it amplifies the satisfaction of playing the game on a day-to-day basis, and you feel like you're working towards something, as opposed to, just playing the game and then eventually not having something to work anymore. I still remember to this day, my best friend, my other best friend of the two that I have, he grinded all the way to max 15th prestige in Call of Duty Black Ops 1. But once he got to max prestige and unlocked all the gold camos for the weapons through the contracts and stuff like that, he basically like stopped playing, because in his eyes there was no reason to play and grind anymore. And I know that he's not the only one that has that sort of, you know, in terms of the way his mentality is. So with that being said, guys, I want to know where you stand on this, as well as some of your ideas down in the comment section below. And as always, I'd like to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.